Okay, Gary, make it short and sweet or I'll give you the hook.
Way you go.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. My name is Gary. I'm a platoon-holic. They wanted me to speak a little bit about my media, and it goes back so far that I think Marconi and I invented the radio. But it'll be 60 years on September the 15th of 2023 that I started full-time and got paid to be a radio announcer. I was 7. So how many here have ever seen the Mary Tyler Moore Show? Remember the Mary Tyler Moore Show thing? So Ted Baxter was the TV anchor man, right? And whenever they asked Ted how he got started, he said, well, there was on a whole little radio station in Minnesota. That's where I got started. Because when you're in the media, you have your voice and then you have your voice. And I loved it over the years where I would be sitting beside another announcer and the phone would ring and be, hey, Gary, yeah, hello, this is Shane Gordon. And it really would break me up because if you got something in front of your mouth, you became a radio announcer. So I was 17 years old, living in Huntsville, and with an unfortunate situation in my family, where my father, we lost the business, and I had to go to work. I had really, when my mother died when I was 11, my grandfather and my grandmother moved in. My grandfather, unlike any other McColman, didn't say a whole lot. But when he did, it was very profound. And what he said to me was, he said, Gary, he said, I'm going to give you a little advice. When you go to do what you want to do for your life, do what you like to do, and life will be a little easier. And I always liked to talk. I was the MC at our graduation at grade 8. In my 5 years of high school, all of them in grade 9, I always was the clown of the class. And my teacher always said to me, one of these days, I think you're going to be some kind of an entertainer. Well, anyway, when I started in radio, the greatest advice I got from people there was, Gary, there's 2 types of radio people. There's an announcer, and those people on all the radio stations that you hear last for 30 years at that station. And then there's the personality. They usually do the morning show, they usually get the most money, and they're the first to get fired when the ratings go down. So make your choice. I made the bad one. I wanted to be a personality. But things worked out good, and over the years, let me just go chronologically through the years.
What do you mean?
So in the 1960s, I was in Huntsville, and then I went to Peterborough, and then I got a great job in Toronto, where I was on the top country music radio station and got to interview a lot of all the country music artists that came through, both in Toronto and in Nashville. In the 70s, I came to Kingston. 1969, I came to Kingston because I wanted to learn television, and I started to work at CKWS. Al Brooks was the manager, just a great, great mentor for me because he allowed me to do pretty well every job in the station, from being on the air to promotion to sales to news to sports. I was the color commentary for Matt Jackson for the first 2 years of the Kingston Canadians, believe it or not. I'm going to end this by a secret that I've never told anybody in the world about my broadcast career. So then in the end of the 70s, I got a job to buy media time production for Canada's largest Christian daily broadcaster, 100 Humphrey. And I started to buy media time into TV production, mostly in fundraising for Crossroads Christian Communications, David Means, 100 Humphrey Street, which I really enjoyed. But from there, I was hired to work with World Vision of Canada and in Pasadena, California, and another organization called Feed My People. And so in 1983, I started McColman Media, which means that this year it'll be 40 years. And we started a broadcast company that did production and bought media time. So that lasted 1983 right through to 1990. In the meantime, I was not on the radio during those years, but I really missed it. I really missed the opportunity to just do what I really love to do, which and every radio person is kind of lazy. Just go in there and do your thing every day. So in 1990, I read a book called The Peter Principle. If anybody knows what that is, I had successfully graduated from that. I became, the Peter Principle says that you've achieved the state of incompetence. And I had built this wonderful company, but I realized that I couldn't run it. So I ended up selling it from that high pressure scenario, came back to Kingston and started back in radio in 1990. Just loved every second of it. One of the best things that happened to me in 1994 was CKWS radio, they fired me. And that was wonderful because, that's good. That was wonderful because then I was able to buy a radio station from across the border, 1027. We started the border in 1997, and that became Country 93, which joined, of course, with John Wright and K-Rock. I became part of that ownership group. And then, as history would have it, in 2010, we sold to Rogers. They kept me on until 3 years ago, and that pretty well ended my career there. Here's the secret. With what we had just heard, the secret was that from 1984 to 1987, I did a daily 15-minute radio program on Deutsche Welle Radio, a 1 million watt shortwave radio station out of Portugal into Russia. And in 1980s, in English, we played modern music. And in 1987, we went to Russia, my brother-in-law and I, and a friend from California, and we met with a lot of young Russians who listened to me on the radio in Russia. We went to Moscow, we went to Leningrad, St. Petersburg, and we went to Kiev. And
which is in Ukraine.
yes, I know. And I must tell you that, you know, in the media, when you become, I'll use the word personality, but when you become the spokesperson or the DJ, you know, you don't feel anything because you're sitting behind a microphone and you're talking into it and you don't see anybody or hear anybody or get a lot of feedback. But we were treated like celebrities. Yep. With the young people over there. And I wouldn't use the word mob me. I mean, I wasn't the Beatle. But the appreciation that those young Russians had of A, learning English, and B, knowing the words of all of those English contemporary pop songs that we played every day was absolutely amazing. And I've never really told anybody about that, but that was really one of the highlights that I've had over the years of media. And I'll leave you by basically just saying this. Unfortunately, media today isn't what it used to be. Back in the day in the media, we used to report the news. Today, they make the news. So that's unfortunate. And of course, with internet and everything else that's happening online, I'm not even sure that terrestrial radio or television is long due here. But I did what I love to do. I did what I really wanted to do. And I have a roof over my head, and Angie and I married 55 years this year. I've had food on the table. and all I can say is that.
Any grandchildren?
7 grandchildren, yes. And with my recent visit to the hospital, I was able to at least tell my wife, if anything happens to me, you can just tell everybody that I've had a wonderful, wonderful life and career, except for that nurse up in that ward that smuggled me donuts every once in a while.
That would be Darlene with that.
I love you, Darlene. Anyway, but so thank you very much. That's about it for me.